Welcome, everybody. So, welcome to our Q&A on raw truth in performance with Kim Farrant and Jack Doherty. My name is Des Fleming, for those of you who don't know me. Our session is going to last roughly 45 minutes. I'm going to start with some questions which I have prepared. Then we'll take some questions from the floor on anything that maybe we don't cover or that you'd like to explore further after we have our chat. Just going to do a little introduction to both of our beautiful guests today. Kim Farrant is a hugely successful film director and a master teacher, and I say that from experience. Her teaching focuses on breaking through emotional blocks and fostering honest, truthful characterizations. She is known for her raw, authentic storytelling and her ability to elicit powerful performances from actors, as seen in her work on Netflix, The Weekend Away, and the Sundance film Strangerland, starring Nicole Kidman, Hugo Weaving, and Joseph Fiennes. Jack Doherty is an Australian actor and a men's embodiment coach. He first worked with Kim back in 2016. Jack, you and I have that in common. And the impact of the work with Kim led him to pursue an inquiry into masculinity and what it means to be an open-hearted man in today's world. He runs Way of Being and is the
No.
creator and facilitator of an online men's community called OTP. Jack co-facilitates the masterclass with Kim. So welcome both. And as you said, I know you're in Berlin and you're starting a masterclass there tomorrow. So delighted that you can be with us this evening. Um, and are they with us this evening or have they dropped out? You are, you're still here.
Back. Can you
Well,
hear
can
us?
you? I can hear you. Yes. Did you drop out for a second?
Dropped out. Sorry, I don't know what
You
happened. We're
missed a
back.
wonderful introduction. So
No, we saw the introductions.
gave you
We love
such a
it.
wonderful introduction. Great. Anyway, you gotta love technology. So, as I say, I'm delighted that you can be with us this evening to discuss your work. I'm particularly excited to be hosting the masterclass in London, which will be happening between October the 31st and November the 3rd. So, yes, very welcome and welcome all of you who've joined us this evening. Thanks for being here. So, my first question, because it is a Q&A, so I'm going to go to you first, Kim. Why do the work around blocks? Why not just use fear as fuel or pretend?
hmm Thank you. Great question. So I've been making films around 30 years now, and then alongside that, coaching masterclasses, actors around 25 years. And what I noticed both in film and the TV work that I've done, and in all the masterclasses, is that you can do all the craft work and you have to do all your characterization, you have to do your accent, your gait, your objectives, your inner obstacles, outer obstacles, your fears, your unmet needs, your tragic flaws. You have to do all of that work so that that's all in your body. But none of that matters if, when the moment that it counts, you step on stage, you step into the audition room, you step in front of the director or the casting agent, or you step in front of the camera, and suddenly your fear arises. And what happens is that your flight, fight, freeze, and fawn will get activated to protect the overwhelm of your inner child. And it doesn't matter how much, how long you've been working in the industry, how many films you've done, how many jobs you've done. I've worked with Academy Award winning actors. It happens for them as well. As soon as that fear kicks in, you will have a knee-jerk response of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So let me ask you this. Who's ever learnt all of your lines, known them off by heart, and then when you got up on stage or got on set, you suddenly lost a line. You forgot a line. Just raise your hand if you've had that experience, right? That's flight. So something happened in the moment and you suddenly felt that fear within. And it can be fears, all fears are irrational, right? But for that child self, overwhelmed young self who, without an attuned parent there in every given moment when you're being raised as a child, when that child feels overwhelmed, i.e., am I going to get yelled at? Am I going to get in trouble? If I fuck it up, will I get rejected? Will I be exiled? Will I be sent to my room? Will I be loved if I show my anger? Will I be loved if I show my vulnerability, my grief, my sadness, my insecurity, my fear, etc.? Those innate intelligence of the body, your young self, those fight, flight, freeze, and fawn will come in to protect you. So who's ever had all their lines learned and felt so emotionally connected at home? You were rehearsing, you could cry on cue, you could get in touch with your rage on cue, you could get in touch with your sexuality on cue. But then when you went to perform it, suddenly you felt numb or blocked. For those of you who are on screen, raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. No one's ever felt numb or blocked. Okay, actually, a few of you. Yes. So that's your freeze guardian. And your freeze guardian presents as numbness. Freeze guardian was how I survived my childhood, right? I had a lot of abuse trauma. And so I would go numb, and that allowed me literally to survive. But when you grow up and you want to feel emotional in service of character when the moment counts, and suddenly your freeze guardians come in, it's really problematic. The other guardians that come up are fight guardian. So that's when you're not listening to the other actor, you're not fully feeling them in the moment. So you're like, I've got me, I've got my lines, I know what I'm going to say, I know how emotionally I'm going to be at this moment and this beat and in this line, and you're not actually feeling the right now moment. You're delivering your performance, but you're not attuning to even yourself or the other actor. That's fight mode, not listening. I've got me. And it's usually from a space of I can't trust others have my back. I can't trust that I'm supported by others. And then the last guardian that often comes up, and it's a very sneaky guardian, is the fawn guardian, which is what animals do in the wild. They'll play dead, they'll acquiesce, they'll give over. That guardian comes up as, you know what, fuck it. Just you do the scene however you want, and I'll just go along with it. But you lose that internal agency. You lose that internal authority and self-worth, and you give your power over to someone else. So your guardians are all trying to protect you, but the problem is, when you grow up and you become 18 and you get your driver's license and you can go and live your life, those inbuilt mechanisms will still arise every time that child within feels threatened. And when you're on screen or you're on stage and your livelihood's on the line, your reputation's on the line, the job's on the line, your feeling of self-worth is on the line, that's when those fear mechanisms are going to get in front of the performance, and you'll go numb, or you'll leave your body, or you're suddenly fawning, or you're in fight mode and you're not listening. So the work that we do very specifically is to help you first find out what your blocks are, what mechanism you go into, where it comes from, so that you can actively work with it in a conscious and a safe way. And what I mean by that is I'm in no way an advocate for re-traumatizing yourself. Everything that we do is around helping you feel more internal safety. So we work very somatically, very emotional based feeling work to help you access more feelings one breath at a time, more capacity to feel your vulnerability, more capacity to be with someone else's rage, more capacity to feel your own rage and express it, more capacity to feel your sex energy moving. So we're helping you build more internal tolerance for your feelings. Because what I've seen over the last 3 decades is how you do life is how you do your acting. The degree in which you can inhabit your feelings in your life and express them is the same degree which you'll be able to truthfully inhabit and express them in your acting, because your nervous system can't tell the difference, right? Between what's life and what's acting. You're in a scene, you have to have a gun to your head. Suddenly you've got to be adrenalized, right? In fear, your nervous system is going to go to the truth of that. So where you're not living your truth in your life, where you're held back, where certain parts of you were splintered off or exiled or repressed because they weren't allowed to be present, they weren't loved, they got rejected, you got hit, you got abused, whatever happened, we now help you to literally to feel more so that you can use your emotional material, your life, your shit becomes your gold, basically, in service of character. And for that reason, we're working at a really deep level, which transforms the acting into a way more embodied, nuanced, very specific, detailed, raw performance, which is why it's called raw truth.
Amazing. I realized, that I should have been putting my hand up when you were, but I'm sitting with my host hat on. But then I was like, no, no, yeah, I got all of those for sure,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And
and
it's really normal. And that's the thing. Like I often hear actors berating themselves going, "Oh my God, I'm so fucking pissed off. I just went into my head," or "I felt so fucking numb." And I'm like, it's totally okay. That's your guardian trying to protect you. We pay great reverence to that guardian because it saved your life. But now they can get in the way. So we work with them with a lot of love and compassion to build safety, to build allowance for, oh, wow, that's what I do. I go numb, or I go into fight mode and I want to fucking kill the other actor, or I go into flight and I just leave my body or leave the room because it's just too intense, right? All the ways that we do to cope. So we go very gently with a lot of love and respect for your blocks and teach a lot of what we call witness practices. So you bring your awareness onto your emotional child, right? So that you're not re-traumatizing it. Anytime you have awareness on something, it can be a solvent that starts to dissolve the block. If you don't have your awareness on something, then you're working with sometimes with deep trauma in this workshop. If you don't have awareness there, that's when things can become unsafe. So we go super slowly in the workshop so that your adult self is forming a relationship, a love affair, a marriage with your young self. So rather than rejecting it and going, oh, you fuckwit, you just went numb. And no, you're going, oh my God, love, what happened? Tell me more. What's going on? So you're tuning in at that deep level. Just to be very clear, I don't teach mimicking. It's a great tool. It's a beautiful, amazing tool that we all learn as children how to mimic. I don't teach it, and I can tell when you're mimicking. So if mimicking's your go-to, I can really help you go like, oh wow, I see that your performer guardian is up. And then we can help you find actual you. So we're really helping you find you getting more access to all the emotions that live inside on for character.
uh, just say that piece again because you froze a little. So you get access
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
all. You had
So
said
we're
you
helping you find, discover, reclaim, love, form a relationship with all these different emotions and parts of you in an embodied way in your body, not just an intellectual understanding of, which for a lot of people is their acting is like up here. And the acting that blows you away and that, wins Academy Awards is when it's felt in the whole body. So we're helping you to discover and reclaim, own all these feelings that have been shut down, splintered off, regulated to the shadows, come out unconsciously, numbed through substances. We're helping you reclaim them so that you can use your feelings, your history in service of character in a really safe way without traumatizing yourself. Because if you activate your trauma to service a character, but you don't care for it or give it a container or a safety net, eventually your young child, and I'm giving the golden finger right now, will go fuck off. Like it's too much. It's too intense. It's too much. And they'll shut down. And that's when you go into quotes acting, overacting, like mimicking, basically. So this is a deep dive. It's deep, beautiful work. It's incredibly healing. It's powerful. The results are amazing. And it's really if you want more from your acting, you want more depth. You don't just want to sound like you're truthful because it might sound it, but you can't feel it. And when you can't feel it, we can't feel it as an audience.
What an amazing answer, because I have two or three other questions, but I feel like you've sort of answered them already. But I'm just going to put them to you anyway in case you feel there's anything you've missed. And I just wanted to add, you said, how you are in life is how you are in your art. And then one of the things that I experienced doing your masterclass was, how I was in, by working on that stuff in my art, my life changed. The year after I worked with you, I moved to London. I had the ability to say, okay, let's go. We're going on an adventure. We're going off to London. Let's do it. And I'm still here, and couldn't be happier. But you've really you've touched on a lot. But I suppose, do you want to say any more about what makes the work unique, or who is this work for? Who's it best suited
Yeah.
to?
If you can dial back to those questions in a moment, but one thing I do want to talk about is one of the most powerful things about the work, and we see it all the time, and like our hearts just go boof, like there's so many moments in the workshop where it's like, oh my God, I just fell in love with that actor. Like now I can't wait to see what they do, is because people reclaim their power. And when you reclaim your power, you reclaim your self-worth. When you have self-worth, your whole nervous system can relax. When your nervous system can relax and you're on set, you can trust your body impulses. You can trust to take as long as you need to express that line, because if you're in truth in your body, we'll watch you mesmerized, mesmerized for as long as it takes for you to feel that moment. So the most powerful thing that people come away with is self-worth, which again relaxes the nervous system and just allows you energetic agility to adapt to the moment, but more capacity to feel yourself and the other actor. So things like chemistry start coming online when you're performing with other actors, even with readers in auditions. Like, I cannot tell you how many actors write to me because I say to people, like, write to me afterwards. Tell me how your life's going. Tell me how your acting's going. Saying, I just booked my first lead role. I just booked this job. I just booked this TV series, because they're going into the audition now feeling worthy. They're going into the audition going, I'm allowed to take up space. I deserve respect. Like that's the new neural pathway that's inside of them. So then they're landing the job because they're not going in going, interior monologue, fucking love me, love me, love me. They're going in like, I'm enough. I'm worthy. I deserve this. And so then their instrument has way more boldness, way more choices, way more emotional access in the moment that it counts. And that's, again, in the audition room, in front of the director, on set, on stage. So back to your other question, which
Let me
was?
start. Let me take you one at a time then. What makes the
Okay.
work unique?
Well, I feel like I've spoken to that
I
quite a
think
bit,
so.
but I
I
will
think so
say
too, but just in case.
somatic practices. We do a lot of somatic work. So when I say that, I mean emotionally connecting to the body through using physical movement, breath, sound. Sometimes I'll do a practice with you where we go beyond words, where it's just movement and sound. And because my sweet spot is being able to help you feel, I can sense where energy is blocked in the body. We can sometimes go wordless to find that. And suddenly a sound's coming out of you that you've never even heard before from yourself. A truth is showing itself to you through your body. And then suddenly you might find a sentence comes out where you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was inside of me, but that's been blocking me. So it's very unique in that way that it's there's a lot of words, but there's also a lot that happens in your body, which transforms you at such a cellular level. And obviously, everything that's ever happened to you is recorded in every cell in your body, right? Which is why you have sense memory. You hear something, you taste something, you smell something, you touch something, you see something, and you get activated in a memory. So we're consciously with a container of safety. We have a lot of boundaries. There's no touch in the Raw Truth workshop, so that people feel really safe to access their own internal emotional world in service of character. Touch we teach in the second workshop, which is the sexuality workshop. But for that reason, you can go super deep because you're removing that element. And then you're able to like discover parts of self beyond the cerebral mind, some of them being pre-verbal, all the way back to birth. We've had people like reliving their birth even in the workshop, and then suddenly unblocking something, which is the key for their self-worth, for their reclamation of self. So in that way, it's like Des said, it's hugely profound and life-changing. And again, how you do life is how you do your acting. You cannot act something that you haven't truthfully felt, owned, expressed in your life. You can't act it. Truthfully, you'd have to be mimicking. So the more you can do the balance of the craft work alongside the deeper emotional work, the more depth to your acting. If you want more surface acting, I'm not your person. Just saying.
That's good. Good to have that disclaimer there. Um, who is this work for? Who's best suited to doing this work?
So can you guys hear us okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Hello?
We got you. Can you
Oh,
hear
okay,
me?
because you're all frozen for us.
Oh,
We're just
really?
looking at you,
Okay.
all frozen.
Can you hear us now?
Um, yes. So in that way, actually, this is for people who want to go deeper. It's for people who've like either you're starting out your career, you've done some industry work, or you've done some classes, or you've studied, and you're like, I want more. I want to feel more. I want to go deeper, but I don't know how to do it. The thing about this workshop is you don't need to know how to do it. We will teach you that. You'll come away with all the tools for yourself, how to do it. You just need to have the willingness. Or it's also for very experienced actors, like this Berlin workshop. I've got people in this workshop with 30 years experience, 25 years experience, 35 years experience. It's also for really experienced actors who are like, I just feel like I've plateaued and I'm getting cast in the same roles that don't see me in the full depth of me. And I want to be seen in all the parts. I want to shine. I want to claim, I want to lead role. I don't just want to be the support, that kind of thing. So it's for anyone who has a deeper longing and craving to meet themselves at a soul level and to use that in their acting. It's also for directors. We also have, we've had dancers and singers come in. Everyone acts in the workshop. Everyone performs except the auditors. So, just briefly, if you're coming to the workshop as an auditor, you might be an actor, you might be a director, but you just want to audit. It might be a cost thing because you can't afford the full tuition as an actor. Coming as an auditor is quite a rare auditing experience because you participate in every single exercise that the actors do, except you don't perform the scenes. But you do all the practical exercises, all the emotional deep work you do. Jack looks after the auditors as well as working one-on-one with all the actors. He's a phenomenon, most incredible human. Trust him with my life. But the auditors get this deep, immersive experience and they're completely welcome into the group. They are part of every debrief circle. They're a part of the group. So it's a very special experience as an auditor. Do you want to talk a little bit about
I
what
was
you
just
do?
going to throw to Jack actually because I feel we need to hear from him. And so, Jack, do you want to maybe touch on some of what Kim has spoke about, but maybe tell us briefly how you came to be involved and and I know Kim's just sort of referred to the auditors and your function with them, but tell us about what you do in the master class and how you came to be there at all in the first place, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Des. Well, my experience has really been from the inside. I mean, there was a time when, I'll just give one story. Like I remember I worked for years with a Australian director who was doing a lot of teaching, and I was doing camera class with him. Every week you get a new scene and you put it up. And every week his notes to me were, "You're not using your body." And I think I did that class for maybe 3 years and just I couldn't get to it didn't matter what he was saying. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't understand it. There were so many blocks in my experience that I had no awareness of. And he didn't have the toolkit to deal with it. He would just say the same thing over and over. So I started the experience of working with Kim. I went along with an actor that was training with her and I went as a reader and I met Kim and I was like, I've never come across someone like this, and I'm so fascinated by the depth of what I heard her working with this actor, and so I did Raw Truth, and I think over the years I must have done about 5 or 6 of them,
As
and
an actor?
as an actor, and then the sexuality workshops and for me, the journey was coming in as really someone who didn't know that I was allowed to have wants at all, which is pretty hard to play a character if you can't have a want, or go for that at all, or feel like you're worthy of that. I didn't have any power. My physical body was constantly communicating externally that I was apologizing for existing. I'm 6'3", and I probably grew a few inches, I reckon, over the years working
His
with Kim.
posture was like that when he came in, and
Yeah.
now it's like that.
Um, yeah, there was a whole range of things. I was very, very heady. Like I described myself at the time as an overthinker. And we're talking 10 years ago, and that was just an accepted thing. It wasn't like the world now where there's so many sort of different labels or explanations for things. It was like everything was like, oh, that's just how I am. And I guess my experience at that time was meeting someone who so lovingly was like, I think that you have so much more to offer. I think there's just a little bit of encouragement and love and just stoking that seed of something brilliant. And that was my experience is having that experience. And so that was my experience as an actor, but taking part in the workshops and the journey that I had with Kim. And then when I came in to assist Kim early on and then move into a facilitation role with her of the workshops, it's really been a journey of understanding like, oh, I have a sense of what it's like to be an actor coming in and I can see things that I've experienced myself. So I kind of help to link the bridge between like where I can see someone is and where I'm trying to get them to and the different things I've learned. One of the biggest things that we advocate for, and regardless if you leave this Zoom and it doesn't work to do the workshops or whatever, daily practice is the fundamental answer to any change. And you can't change anything if you don't have awareness of it. And if you can't find someone who can lovingly help you see the things that you can't see that are getting in the way, then you don't have awareness of those things and then you don't have anything to work on. And the consistency is what gets the change. So I'm a big advocate of meditation. I think we live in a very distracted world. I think everyone knows that now. I've known that for definitely a decade, and I think it's now becoming more mainstream, sort of. Whilst tech companies are paying people a lot of money to find new ways to keep our attention. So if we're not doing something to protect our attention, then they're stealing it, basically. And people are paying a lot of money to do that. And that is a fundamental basis of acting. It's very hard to be present in a scene if your attention can't be dialed in. It's very hard to be in your body and have self-worth and have an experience of curiosity and discovery and feel time dilate and slow down um, and and feel the kind of nuance of everything moment by moment without having learnt to practice and unwind anything that has become a learned habitual unconscious behavior that changes that. So I think that kind of gives you a sense of some of the things we explore. It's very hands-on, it's very physical. There's no touch, but it's because most of people in the world live out of their bodies, we really, really, really encourage use of the body. And like I know the experience I've had over many years facilitating and witnessing, and also the journey of doing the work. I mean, a lot of my job in the workshops is also to role model and demonstrate everything that we're teaching. So we really approach everyone as we're all colleagues in this sort of exploration of something. It's there's no like teacher student dynamic. It's we're all human. We really live what we teach. We are making a film that is really the symbol, the embodiment, and the culture of what we really advocate for. So, you know, we're all about being very open and advocating for a kind of new version of humanity, I guess, through this work. So, idealistic dreams, but the experience that we see time and time again is people have complete revelations and transformations and it can revivify someone's relationship to acting, to themselves, to their family, to their relationship to art, to their creativity, to their lust for life that they maybe lost. Like all sorts of things happen for people where it really is something that I don't know, sends them on a different trajectory a lot of the time, and ideally the trajectory that their kind of soul was longing for.
Amazing. I feel healed and inspired listening to that.
Oh.
And
And I
I
will,
think, go
sorry,
on, Kim, come in, come in.
I just want to say one thing that's really why, I fly Jack out from Australia to come to Europe, is because he has so cultivated through his own personal work on this journey a practice of self-love and compassion. And because he has that, he has so much like spaciousness and compassion without judgment for others, which this then allows people to open more. So it's really beautiful to have that in a man who's like, so fully embodied in his power and his wild and his carnal and like can totally be with all of that, but can also be so super sensitive and attuned. So it's really beautiful role modeling for both men and for women to experience that as well, like in a man who's so like in one way like a warrior and in another way like will hold your heart like you feel like you're the only person in the world. So it's a beautiful compliment to the work and to my like, full on intensity as well as I can be very gentle. But there's also like this beautiful balance of us doing the work together. Um, Sorry, Des, I interrupted you.
No, it's good. It's beautiful. And we needed to, everything is, yeah, it's all creative fuel and inspiration to hear it. So it's great. Um, Kim, the masterclass has clearly evolved since you started doing it 10 years ago. I think it was 2 days when I did it back in 2016. It's now 4 days. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit about how the days are structured?
Yes. So on the first day, we set up the boundaries and the container, and really get you in touch with your objective, your personal objective for the workshop. And then we put the scenes up. So everyone gets allocated a scene and a scene partner. The scenes, you rehearse them at least 4 hours with your scene partner at different sessions prior to the workshop. And you have to do at least one in-person 2 hour rehearsal, if you're coming in from another country the day before. And then you do Zoom rehearsals before that. So that by the time you turn up to the workshop, you're off book and you've blocked the scene. And then you perform it on that first day with your props, costume, makeup, everything. I give you feedback. We start to dive into what your blocks are. And then for the second half of that day and for day 2 and day 3, we're doing process after process. And every time you run a process and learn a new tool, you put your scene up as a group. So you're constantly running the scene, but fueled with a new tool. Then on the last day, you perform your scenes again in front of me and the whole group. I give you feedback, and then I work one on one with each person in front of the whole group. And Jack does the same, but in the other room. So you get to experience both of us one on one. There's always a third person witnessing with Jack out of the room. And then you come back in and you perform it a second time and get feedback. So the performing happens on day 1 and day 4, and you will not recognize your scene colleagues and scene partners on day 4. It's like you're like, who the fuck is that? That is not the person I saw on day 1 at all. And who am I? The work can take quite a bit of time to integrate, and we give you a lot of self-care practices. We're big advocates for self-care. You can't do this deep emotional work without learning how to love yourself and take care of yourself and give yourself, time out, rest, trips to the sauna, massage, play dates, ocean dates, like whatever you need to do to take care of your not only physical but emotional instrument. So that's how the 4 days roll out. And it's become 4 days, Des, because you remember in the old days, like when we did it with you, we went so over time that Des had to host us for half a day at his house to complete the workshop. That's what it was like 10 years ago.
This
So
is
anyway,
true, everybody. So
now
be very
4 days.
grateful that it's 4 days. and that you won't
Yeah.
be asked to host the masterclass at your place.
Or or go into the middle of the night, which is what we used to do 3, 4, 5 a.m. on the last day because, I'll go
Yeah.
until I drop. So will he. And we've learned that that's not a good idea.
That's not the best way. So it's a much more healthy and self-care approach to take the time and to take the
Exactly.
4 days.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah, and I think also, Des, maybe I'll just add on, it also comes from a place that when a group gets together, it's so interesting because the journey that that particular group goes on is always unique. It never like not one workshop has been the same. They always have their own like flavor, there's patterns, there's like this thing. And so when it would come to the end of those shorter workshops, there was like this collective willingness of like everyone wanted to see their brother and sister have their like penultimate moment, and they would become, after the first couple, everyone would become so excited to see what the fuck would happen. Excuse my language. Because it is that, and that's the kind of edge that this is something that I really have loved and admired about Kim for such a long time. Like she will take people to their edge, and it's always everyone's always empowered to make their own choices. That we're very much about that. It's you have to have the willingness to do what you're being invited to do. But most of us live lives of comfort. We're built that way. So, but right at that edge that isn't too overwhelming is the opportunity to grow into something. And I mean, we literally biologically, I don't know if everyone knows this, but there are proteins latent in our brains that only turn on when we put ourselves into somewhere that's unfamiliar. So, like, there are parts of like our innate being of who we are and who we could be that only really come online when we're put in a place that's unfamiliar. Because we stay in what's familiar. That's what we're used to doing. So when you kind of are part of an ensemble and everyone meets everyone and we do processes to do that to drop in, but then you see someone, I'm going to swear again, it's fucking incredible what happens to some people.
Yeah.
I mean, to everyone really, but in their own ways, it's really amazing. And people come back. There are people who, I mean, I think I must have done all of them 20 times or something because the lessons just get more nuanced and more nuanced and more subtle, and the subtle is very significant. So things can be big initially, and then you start to find subtlety, and there's an art to the nuance and how much a big difference that makes.
For sure.
So
Amazing.
beautifully said. And the last thing I want to say is another person that this is for anyone who feels like a fraud, like you're a fraud. Because there's that fear of like, oh my God, I got the gig and now the fraud police are going to come and they're going to arrest me because they're going to know that somehow I don't deserve this. That feeling of like, I fluked it in the audition or somehow I managed to do it that day, but I don't know how to do it again. Like where you feel like you can't trust that you have it in your instrument multiple times, especially if you're shooting like fast turnaround TV or on a film where you might have to do 20 takes. So it's like we also really help you to so form this inner marriage between your seer and your feeler, your witness and your young self, so that you can actually over and over again find that depth of emotion and bring it forward in service of the text, the script, the character, the story.
Amazing. Now, I said we'd take about 45 minutes. We started at 5 past, so I'm going to ask if you're willing to take a couple of questions from the floor, if we have any, if there's anybody in the room who, I mean, I'm sitting here, on a cellular level, I'm humming because it's just food for the soul, and I've done this master class. I can't wait to see the results of it. But is there anybody who has a question around something that maybe we didn't cover, or you need some illumination on something that we did cover, but you need clarity on? Or are you all sitting there going, "Oh my God, so much to take in, but so rich and so nourishing and so thoughtful and deep and healing." I just feel the healing in the room. So
Hmm.
yeah, raise your hand or raise your virtual hand. I see on Mara, yes, Mara, and then Katie. Mara, come in on mute.
Hi, I mean, this is really fascinating. I love it. Thank you so much. I feel so familiar. I feel so close to this.
Mm.
Um, I've been a dancer for over 30 years, and um, so I've done a lot of physical movement, and um, basically I acted without words for a long time, but I started a few years ago taking over acting,
Awesome.
and I love it. And this conversation that we've been, you've been saying, it's so close to me,
Mm.
and yeah, really close, because that's exactly what I've been feeling all these years. So much I can go deeper and deeper into what I have learned since I'm very young age. But I
Mhm.
think it's an inner thing that you have, for you're born with it, right? But of course, you have to explore it and know the tools how to explore that.
Mhm.
So for me, is the question is how bold and how much you can go into it without being afraid of what people think about you. So that's my question.
Mhm.
I love creating. I can't stop creating. I keep learning things, and I get deep into things. I learn characters. I read books, and I like music. And of course, as I get older, my dancing gets less and less. So so the physicality, it's different. But
Can
I
I ask
still,
a question,
I
Mara?
still want to be bold and just get even deeper for what I've learned all these years as a dancer, now as an actor.
Mhm. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Um, when you feel into it, was there someone in your family of origin who cared what other people thought?
I think as a dancer, you grow up very young age being always criticized, I think.
Uh-huh.
And because I was always been different, then but because dance for me is it saved me who I am, because
Okay.
it's the
Understood.
physicality and the emotional, but
Yeah.
without words. So the question you asked me, not in my family, no, but me as a child, I always felt like, am I doing the right thing, or because I'm different, am I doing the wrong thing? Yeah.
And also being criticized. So even if your parents weren't there, your parents they are the guardian of your soul health, right? So
Yeah.
when you come home from dance, it's your parents' jobs to be like, hey, sweetie, how are you? And
Mm,
that you feel safe enough to be like, I got criticized, I got told off, like I just can't feel like I
yeah.
can be myself. Like
Yeah.
it's their job to help you stand in that internal knowing that I am worthy and lovable just as I am, and I do not have to
Mm,
contort myself or change one fiber of my being for anyone else. So the workshop will help you go back to those events that taught you I have to be a certain way to make others love me. If I'm not a
mm,
certain way, I'll lose love. And we help you like literally gently uproot that belief so that you can take your power back, so that you're
mm.
wild,
Yeah.
joyous,
Yeah.
creative, playful,
Yeah.
you bright spark
Yeah.
self can totally fly. And that's why we all do acting, right? Because you want that feeling of
Yeah.
flying when you're not
Yeah.
feeling subconscious anymore and you're just in it.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
do it. That's why I
Exactly.
direct, why
Exactly.
you act, for the feeling of flying. But that part, that's your unique imprint. That's the uniqueness of who you are gets to come forward when we start releasing the block of I have to be perfect, I have to get it right in order to be loved. Yeah.
Mm.
Amazing.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
you'll find yourself not alone in that pursuit, and
Yeah.
also so held in the releasing of that story, that
Yeah.
grip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mara.
And
Katie?
Kate, you had a question.
Do we have time for this?
Yes, we do.
1750. So I've been taking Des's classes about the Ivana Chubbuck technique.
Awesome.
And so, that you mentioned this right at the beginning about the technique, about the detail, about the layers, the inner work. And then, so then the work that you're doing, how does it mesh? Because it's obviously the two things can work together for sure. It's a completely different way of approaching character and text. But is it then something that, as an actor preparing then for a film or for a theatre performance, is it then several more layers of work? Or is it more of a kind of a mindset or a reframe that you take away from your workshop, which is then, do you know what I mean? Is it like if you're
Yeah,
taking what you take away, do you then apply it in your preparation, or does it happen in the moment? Like, how does
so
it
what
match?
I would offer to you, Katie, is that your experience will go way deeper than your brilliant mind. I can see you have a brilliant mind, and it'll go way more into your body, offering more wild expression and embodiment of yourself in service of character. So it will allow you to feel things at a deeper level, which you will then translate into serving through your substitution or your personalization, the character. But it's the embodiment that's different. It's going to complement in the way of giving you more access and more range. It will take you out of the safety zone of a discerning mind and more into the feeling states.
Okay,
So
thank
if
you.
you'd like more feeling and more wild, then yes, it would
Yeah,
be wonderful for you and very supportive.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I think the important word is complement. I always feel every technique adds to your toolkit. Every teacher you work with will hopefully give you something else to help you grow. And
Mm.
it's all about a holistic development. No teacher, no technique has the monopoly on what creates greatness. There's great actors in every technique. But
Yeah,
this is about finding a way to a deeper embodiment, no matter what technique you're using.
correct.
Have I summed
Beautifully
that
said.
up okay?
Just said, beautifully said. Yes, I love it. Yeah. And also
Amazing.
just more connected to your truth.
Mm.
Like really in that way of like, sometimes we'll say to an actor, particularly in the sexuality workshop, like the moment you find your no in the workshop in any way, you just got your money's worth. Like the more you can find your no and honor your no, the more yeses will become available to you in your body, the more freedom in your body. But for a lot of people, we don't have a connection to our no. And it's called raw truth because it's again like every exercise we do in the workshop is to help you land in your truth. And the more you can honor that, know your boundaries, your own self-integrity, your need for space, your need for contact, your need for time, whatever it is, the more you'll be able to find, yes, like the freedom will come online because you're giving a container for your young self. So you might find your no in a moment and be like, fuck yes, I found it. I owned it. I claimed it. Love it.
Love it.
All right.
Amazing.
Any more questions? Yes, Zoe.
Hi, yeah, I got recommended the workshop from Catherine. I can't make it this time. I'm in Berlin as well, but I came from Meisner 2 years ago, and then I've been doing a lot of lucid body this year, which sounds a little bit similar. My concern when I started that was what's the difference between this and like a group therapy situation? Is it everything out there, or do you use it for yourself? I think that would be my same question. That's what I asked Catherine. Like, is it that you use your topics, your blocks for yourself, or is it sort of on show? Because I know that doesn't, at the moment, that's not really what I'm
Right.
looking for.
So again, like the no of like sometimes an actor will be very like I'm very transparent with my story and my feelings to help create more safety in the space. So when I'm teaching the workshop, you'll hear all about my stuff. Like I'll demonstrate a tool and you'll hear my personal life. And I don't, for me, that's completely fine. Like I feel very comfortable with that. But some people are very private and I really respect that. But what we do is we teach you how to access more feeling. And you have complete autonomy and choice as to what you share or don't share as you're making discoveries through the workshop. So
Okay.
that's really like, again, where it's like, your no of like, actually, I don't want to share that, or no, I don't want to answer that question. Because I'll ask lots of questions to try and flush up your stuff so we can see where the blocks are. And again, all with the purpose of the more we can remove the blocks, the more you can be a vessel for character, the more you can channel it through you without it hitting your own stuff and shutting you down. So I might ask you a question in the workshop and you'll be like, yeah, no, I don't want to answer that. I'm like, okay, great. Wow, you just found your no. Awesome. So
Yeah.
there's like a full respect for any time someone can feel their own boundary. And also we all move at different paces, so there's also a real reverence for like you acclimating and digesting what you're experiencing in your own time, in your own space. All the takeaways you get, they're all for you. Everything you learn in the workshop and you experience, you take all of that with you.
Yeah, thank you.
That answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Do you do every year in Europe or is
We
it?
are at the moment, yeah. I mean, I've just we teach in Australia, America, and now in Europe, and this is our second year in Europe. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm so excited to be doing this with Des, knowing that he's in London and that he's done the masterclass before us. So yeah, I'm very
Nice. Okay, then I'll put it in my mind for next year. Good. Thank you.
grateful. Love it.
Thanks, Zoe. Thanks for being here. And just to reiterate, I guess, Kim, and I know you talk about this in the day one and setting it up, like Jack and yourself are not therapists and not claiming to be therapists. That's not what we're about here.
Yeah, it's not group therapy. It is therapeutic. It's very healing. And, I'm 54 years old and grew up in a therapy household. So, I'm very versed in that world, done us a lot of somatic work, a lot of primal work, a lot of breath work, a lot of, Hoffman process, NLP. Like I've done a lot of that stuff, but I'm not a therapist. But it is therapeutic. And anytime you are owning your truth, it's therapeutic. So that's why I call it therapeutic.
Amazing.
Love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think if people have, I'm sure there's a lot for people to process. If people do have questions, they can email me and we can see, I'll answer them. And if I can't, I'll get it on to Kim.
Yeah,
I've
and then you can say,
I've posted the link to the webpage about Raw Truth. Applications are open for another 2 weeks, but we've got people who've applied already. So if you're thinking of getting on, I'd get in board, get in quick so we have an idea type of vibe. And yeah, but really grateful to Jack particularly for staying up all day and being here despite landing on his intercontinental flight, and Kim, to you too. So delighted you could be here and do this for us, and I hope it's inspired people and they can take away that inspiration, and hopefully they'll join us in the masterclass at the end of October. But until then, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Kim has got something else to say.
say one more thing. I just want to thank you, Des, for being a living example of doing beautiful, deep work on yourself because you're so open, you're so giving, you're so generous of your love and your heart and your praise and your kindness. So you create a really safe space. So I'm super excited to be meeting these actors through you because of the work that you do on yourself and consistently. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Aw.